Okay, so in his work, The Dialectics of the Abstract and the Concrete in Karl Marx's Capital, Ilyenkov goes into detail discussing the abstract and the concrete, and also the abstract universal and the concrete universal, which may sound like an overcomplication of things. However, when you look into it, when you actually read it, this is when you see that this is necessary, because not only do most of us not understand what the abstract and concrete are, we also do not know how to apply this understanding to actually expand our understanding of the world. Sorry for tautology, but I will read some from the book and I will try and explain some of this. I know these videos are not very popular. People don't want me to translate and read out of the book, but I personally think it is very, very helpful. And this is how I gained a lot of understanding. When other people read to me, when we discuss, this is very helpful. So the universal does not contradict metaphysically the particular and the singular. It is not just a mind's way of distinguishing between the empirically understood wholeness of the events. It doesn't contradict the real unity of the universal, particular and singular, as an objective fact, and with the other just as objective facts that are inside of the same concrete historically developing system, and in this case, the socio-historical reality of humankind, or of human. And I'm translating directly from the book, so this is why it may be a little bit wonky, because sometimes I have to stop and think. But this is what Ilyenkov is talking about when he talks about the abstractly universal understanding or conceptualization of a human. Remember, some time ago I talked about the very famous definition of a human is a creature who can use tools, which I agree with, and Ilyenkov here in this book, he proves it very elegantly, I believe, and by saying this is an abstract universal to every single human, he means that it is a foundation for everything else, right? Because people started making tools, they needed to develop ways of communication. They needed to develop systems in order to successfully work together. And this is what he distinguishes as the foundation of humankind. And then as the concrete universal, he provides an example of value. Marx's value. And Marx talked about this at length in Capital, and Ilyenkov, because it is a book dedicated to Capital, he also comments on that. And he adds how the objective role that the commodity form in the process of the capitalist becoming is embodied in the understanding of the category of value. So he says, in order to understand capitalism, you have to understand value form. And value form, he says, is concrete. It is a concrete universal. He says that it is a cell. It is the first cell of the process that is then going to proliferate as the different types of cells, but the structure of that cell is going to be the same. So when Marx looked at the simplest value forms, when he looked at the barter, the like simple commodity exchange, when it's the infamous linen and coat type of examples that everybody loves so much, loves to hate on actually, he uses this as the base to showcase that this process is going to be universally concrete. In every instance of a sale of any sorts, one object is going to represent in itself necessarily the form of the other. And be it money, be it profit, be it rent, doesn't really matter. It is the principle, the underlying principle that Marx realized, which is fundamental, which changed the way we perceive the world around us. So thanks to Marx and Ilyenkov, we are able to really truly get into the essence of capitalism. So the value forms may be diverse, Ilyenkov says, but they're all going to carry in themselves the cell, the seed of the simplest commodity exchange form. And Ilyenkov also points out the genius of Marx, that this unifies the singular, the particular, and the universal. And remember, the concrete is the unity of multiplicities, or the unity of the diversity, whatever you want to translate it as. And this is true. The totality is what we should always be looking for. And the totality always consists of the universal, the particular, and the singular, or the individual. Lenin also talked about this, in Ilyenkov quotes Lenin from time to time. And this is all important because so many people don't understand Marxist theory of value. Granted, when you look into the details, when you start looking at all the formulas that Marx provide, it can get a little confusing. But the key, the foundation, this is what Ilyenkov outlines. He outlines the concrete universality of the principle of value. Value is not imprinted in the material object itself. Material reality does not dictate value. It is human relations to the production that dictate value. And it is when one object in its own material body is going to represent a different object, this is when the value turns into the ideal form. And then this process is repeated and it is reproduced. And then we all, as working class people, believe in the magic of money. We believe that everything has to be either sold or bartered, and we cannot imagine a different reality. We cannot imagine a different type of production. So this is why I think Ilyenkov really, really is necessary to clarify Marx, to make sense of Marx. And I read these first few chapters of Capital multiple times in 2 languages, and I still had a ton of questions, but this really, really answers most of them. So I highly recommend this work by Ilyenkov. This particular chapter is called The Concrete and the Dialectics of the Universal and the Singular. Highly recommend. If you don't read any more of the chapters from this book, read this one. I think it is available. I think I shared the link before. I'll do this again. So let me know what you think. I hope you have a great day today. Consider supporting me on Patreon. Do take care of yourself and your community first. Subscribe to me on all the other social media accounts, even though I don't do much there. And I'll talk to you sometime later.